it gives me great pleasure to introduce John Corby. And as a way of introducing John, John is one of the world's leading yacht designers and boat builders of modern yachts. For over 30 years, John has produced outstanding yachts, and in recent years has refurbished and improved some old IRC boats, breathing new life into older yachts. An open diagonal X transom is one of the notable design features from the famous Corby boatyard. One of his most notable racing yachts was Mustang Sally. And listen to this, out of 53 starts, that boat won 53 times. And in 2019, having a major refit, won Cows Week for the 5th time. That's incredible. 45 designs, 86 boat builds, 26 repeat owners, 16 different countries, race, regatta and championship wins, 20 custom builds in-house, and 19 other boatyards build Corby designs. 5 Yacht of the Year awards, this is amazing. 3 designs in the Royal Thames Yacht Club model room, and that's by invitation. 1 design in Yachting World's 50 yachts that have changed the way we sail. And that is an incredible legacy, proving John and his team have great talent and dedication to our world of yacht racing. Some other notable racing boats are Rockall and Rosie. These we will know, Gloves Off, Independent Bear, Blondie 3, and of course Antics. John is a proud father to Sophie and Seb. And his dad invented the electric trouser press. So what more can I say? Over to you, John, and I wish you all the best for the talk this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. You've been on my website and clearly got all that stuff. Sales stuff. What I'm hoping to do tonight is talk about and show a lot of pictures which actually I don't put on the website because they wouldn't necessarily sell me boats. But they are very much part of the story, and this is the part I really love. So thank you for your kind introduction. This picture, I hope you can all see. It's me with a chainsaw, electric chainsaw, smashing into the side of Cracklin Rosie in beginning of 2009. Well, Cracklin Rosie is a very loved boat in Ireland. And indeed, it's now looking fresh again. We made it look very fresh in 2009 in a refit. I was at Roy's funeral just before the lockdown, and what a fantastic send-off Roy Dixon got. He certainly deserved it. So what was going on here? Well, I'm not going to dwell too much on this picture, but at one stage, what's now IRC used to be called CHS, Channel Handicap System, and they went completely mad in about 98 when all my boats in 97 had just clearly won too many races, and all the boats are slightly narrow, so they decided that they'd catch me out, and they put huge amounts of rating on my boats. One boat got 28 points just added overnight, another one 20, and another one 18. And the only way we could sort of get over this was by sticking a load of foam and stuff on the side of the boats. We did 3 boats, made them wider by a lot. Independent Bear got nearly a foot each side added to the side, and just stuck on the side of the original boat. Anyway, thank God that all sort of drama sort of faded away, and in 2000 and mid-2000s, we were able to sort of carve it all back off again, and the rating office sort of tend to turn a blind eye. So I put this picture up, it's a bit of fun. When I went to speak at a famous yacht design conference in Hamburg about 10, 12 years ago, and I did it for 3 years, didn't know what to expect, and I was there with, and there was lots of famous yacht designers from all over the world were there. And they were all putting, that when it came to their turns to talk, they were putting these sort of pictures up with graphs of sort of lift and drag and resistance and all sorts of stuff, lots of stuff I really don't understand. And so I put this picture up, and they all went mad for it, and I got a ton of work off it. So anyway, moving swiftly on, I'm going to go briefly, how do you build a one-off boat? And these days, a lot of people are sailing around in J boats. They're sailing in JPKs and Archambaults, and I'm trying to think of, and Sunfasts of fashion again. And so, and you buy them from France. They're good boats. They do what it says on the tin. But I didn't get established in the boat business when it was like that. In my day, and we're going back in the 80s here, particularly late 80s when I got going, owners didn't go and buy boats from these firms. They got together with a young designer that they trusted, and they got a boat built somewhere, and it's normally in a shed, a barn, anywhere they could, and they got some mates together and they put the thing together, and it was very, very pioneering times, which are very not like that anymore. But it enabled somebody like me to get going. And so I'm going to talk to you about how do you build a one-off boat. If you don't go to Beneteau and Sunfast and JPK and order a boat, if somebody says, right, build a boat, how do you do it? This is a 50-foot boat, Flirt. It was definitely not fast in its first year. I just got the shape wrong, whatever it was, corrected it, and then it went to Australia, and it won a ton of stuff down there, including its class in Sydney, Hobart, Rolex this, Rolex that. So I'm going to briefly start this talk, tell you how you build a one-off boat. Somebody comes to me and says, I want a 50-foot boat. First thing you've got to do is you've got to get a crew. Build crew. Now, I always employ the dirty dozen. They're people that know fix the boat, and you employ them for 6 months, and you have a great fun. It's like being at a festival for permanently for several months, and you go mad for a bit. Then you need another 6 months to get over it all. So you cut these frames out. Now, this isn't the real boat. This is just purely a mold. This is all going to go in the bin, right? Everything you see at the moment is going to be thrown away. This is not the boat. Still not the boat. Right, so you cover your plywood mold with this release film, and nothing sticks to this stuff. This is more expensive. This brown stuff, you stick it on, it's more expensive than carbon fiber. Then you laminate your boat. There we are with the inner skin, and I've got the guy on the left of the screen. He was the chef from one of the restaurants. He liked a bit of casual work every now and again, because, you know, we'd have 10 people around here for a big laminating session on a 50-footer. You'd use very, very slow resin. You'd be non-stop. From the moment you mix the first resin, you're laminating for 6-8 hours, and then you've got to get a vacuum bag on it, which is what this looks like. You put a vacuum bag on. It's not Henry Hoover. We're talking about crunching the whole thing down like vacuum packing. Really, really tightens it all down, squeezes the air out, makes it nice. There you've got the foam core on. We put foam over and do the same thing, vacuum it down. We faired the boat. I didn't show you that, it's pretty boring. Turning it over, putting the insides in, the keel structure. There's the deck being built very much the same way. The deck on this boat weighed only 280 kilos, 50-foot boat. I would say your deck on your J109 would weigh more than that. Here we are towards the end of the project, dragging it up the street very early in the morning. Nobody's looking, getting it to the boatyard, and it goes in the water, and you go sailing. And then, unfortunately, on this boat, we discovered it wasn't very fast. I fixed it, cut the back off, bits and bobs, changed the shape. At the ends, you can see on this picture, I sort of found it out. And there it is. This is a very recent picture in Australia where the boat lives. And it didn't do that well in the Hobart. It was a bit average in the Hobart this year, but it was only about 3 or 4 years ago it won its class. I took this picture in February this year of that. It's called Vamp. And this is the inside when we built the boat 18 years ago, and this is the interior just sort of 2-3 months ago, and I was really pleased. It's if you go look back there, there's no paint on the inside of this boat. It's all clear coat carbon fiber, all the furniture, everything really nicely laminated, really neat, and still looks good. It's the chart table, the picture taken. Right, so we're going to go back to Crackling Rosie because it's a good old favourite. Now, I was so busy, I was so exhausted from building Mustang Sally, I have to say. but I really didn't have the energy, and I was building kitchens and stuff in the new house. I subcontracted the build of Crack and Rosie to Mark Downer, who's a friend of mine, he's a great boat builder, and worked with him a lot. And here he is, well, not him, but this is the mould for Crack and Rosie's deck. So Crack and Rosie was built with a cedar core hull. Didn't have a composite foam core hull, it had cedar core, and you'll see some pictures of that in a minute, but it had a foam core deck. So this deck mould was made out of sheets of melamine, brown tape down the edges and stuff. The deck was moulded, it's shoved outside because we're in his garden, he's got the shed here, and then the mould frames go up to, this is all going to go in the bin, this stuff, this chipboard. Put the cedar around, glue it together, bring the boat out. Obviously, I've jumped forward a lot. The decks, this is typical Mark fashion, decks on the top of his Land Rover, sliding it over the top of the hull. There we are. And over Christmas that year, Mark jacked the roof up on his shed and stuck another couple of rows of bricks in just to make sure the boat would come out of the door, because when we built the boat, it wasn't actually, the door wasn't high enough. My kids, this is going along, showing how long this goes. Sophie there is 13, got married last year. So some time ago, and Seb there, he's a bit younger. He's only 28 now. It's a fantastic picture of Roy and the gang, and there seems to be a lot of Smiths in that picture. Cork Week 96, the boat was new, we turned up there and we won the first race, and everyone else was there with their really flash BH41s and all the rest of the racing boats. And we turned up with this boat being built in a garden out of cedar strip, sailed by people that didn't all have matching uniforms, and we won the first race. You can imagine what happened that night, and we definitely didn't win the next race. Right, so I touched briefly about the rating. We then had to make it wider. So look at the amount of stuff stuck on the side of this boat, and there in me taking it off again. There you go, huge amounts of foam and just filler and stuff. Made the boat very much heavier. It's not as fast, it didn't really want it. We were able to take it off again a few years later, so 2009, this is all coming off. And there Crack and Rosie in about April 2009, coming out of the shed after a full restoration, looked absolutely fabulous. Here she is, boats used to just have one wheel rather than two. I'm very proud of that boat, very proud. Right, Independent Bear. It wasn't an Irish boat, this is the only picture I'm doing tonight, but it just goes to show this is what boats used to be like. Masthead rig, massive overlapping, 140%, 145 actually, maybe on that boat, can't remember. So powerful, powering upwind. I mean, there's just nothing like it. That's like going upwind in a meter boat. Unbelievable, fantastic boat. Right, so I've got a few random pictures now, and they're included here because I think there is a connection with the Republic. This is Victric 3. Now, I don't know what it's called now. Last time I knew, it's a Dubois 33 footer. The last time I saw or heard about this boat, it was in Galway. We built this. I wanted the design job, but I only got the build job. Didn't matter. It's a very, very pretty boat by Ed Dubois, the late Ed Dubois. It was sort of halfway between an IOR boat, which had a pinched-in stern, and a modern boat, which is a fat stern. Very, very pretty, elegant boat, fantastic light air boat. We built that foam sandwich in what's now Cowes Yacht Haven Event Centre, and that picture was taken very early in '93, where we were shipping it up to the owner. Here we got more random pictures. I don't have this one on my website for obvious reasons. I'm cutting the bottom off a boat, which I don't even include on my website. Brief excursion into the ultimate and ultra 30 land. Had a boat with the bulbs that didn't capsize. Fine. We didn't capsize, which was good. but everyone else was going faster than us, so we cut the bulb off and then we capsized quickly on to the next thing. So I used the bits from that boat to build Joyride, and this is in my garden. Plywood, just bent round frames. Everything you see there is the real boat, by the way. On previous pictures, I've shown you pictures of wooden frames which are actually being thrown away. On this one, it's the real boat. We kept it all. And 2 layers of plywood. My daughter again, this is very early 92, and super light. I mean, this boat was unbelievably lightweight, and it's just actually been undergoing a miraculous restoration in Leamington by Don Wood, who's turned it into something he's going to race in the south of France, classic division, by the way. So it's boat's coming up for 30 years old. Velvet Glove, okay, it's got yes on the side, but Velvet Glove was a boat that I did after Crackling Rosie, and this is, I'd sort of coined the phrase at the time, a modern half-tonner, even though it wasn't a half-tonner, because half-tonners were IOR rating rules built. Last one was early 90s, and we're talking about late 90s now. It was all CHS, about to be IRC then. But Chris Allen, who's I think you might be familiar with, is a great boat builder. He'd done a lot of boat building at Cookson's, which is in New Zealand, which are the Rolls Royce of custom boat building. He moved back to Ireland. He wanted to build a boat, and so I designed him this 30-footer. And in fact, Colin Barrington picked up the project and ran with it, and indeed was incredibly successful with. Well, this is to the 99, 2000. Well, around about that time, I then got that started chatting about the 25. And the 25 is the most numerous of any of my designs. His Obsession, this is a famous boat down in Cork, fine example. Well, I get ribbed an awful lot about just sticking the same boat on a photocopier and scaling it up and down. I'm sure all designers get it these days with computers. Well, I suffer that no less than anyone else. And in fact, the only time I've done any type of geometric squash, albeit using a computer, not a photocopier, was when I designed the 25, because what I started with was the previous boat, the Velvet Glove, 30-footer. And what I found is all I had to do was squash the length to 25 foot, so 30 foot became 25 foot. The beam got squashed to 2.5 meters, which made it road legal to make it trailable. And everything else, the height got left exactly the same. So it became a sort of same height from the top of the coach roof to the bottom of the hull, but everything else was squashed. But in fact, it turns out that the boat has just had a really sweet shape, and is just a very, very favourite design of mine. There's not sure how many have been built, so 15 to 20. The moulds disappeared off to Latvia at one stage, so it's a bit hard to sort of tell how many they've really built, but and the royalties sort of dried up after about boat number 12. But it's a beautiful boat. There's 1 or 2 around the Solent. People love them, and they just one of those boats, in my view, there's no bad angle. Okay, so I mentioned the moulds went off to Latvia. That wasn't my business. I did get involved in some business in Poland. It all went financially hideously wrong. And the boats were of mixed quality, I have to say, but they weren't expensive, and they were built down to weight. And this is the mould for the 30, this is the plug for the 33 in Poland. And in fact, in the distance, you can see the plug, the strip plank being built for the mould for the 26. And here we go. These are the mould. This is the mould for 33. The mould actually ends up in 2 parts. They mould them in 2 parts, and then they join them together when they're largely moulded. And there's a load of my Polish boats all lined up there. Contango, I think the first boat that hit the water, Contango. And this is Rockall. I took this in Cork Creek, 2008, I think. and there's another one of Rockall I took in my regatta, in the Corby regatta in 2012. This is off Hoath. It's quite bumpy, as you can see. So I'm going to run through a few other projects. We built a strip plank and then glassed and then veneered classic boat, 39.5 foot. We weren't quite sure. We stuck so much wood on the ends of it that it sort of thought it was 39. It ended up nearly 40. And this was for a guy who wanted a spirit yacht, but he wouldn't build it quite what he wanted it to meet his requirements, because he's completely paralyzed below the shoulders. So he's got the use of his arms, but nothing else. Brian Harding, fantastic guy. He needed a steering wheel, needed a few other things. Spirit couldn't quite do it. So we built him this boat. And here's the deck we built the teak deck off the boat. A finished boat, absolutely stunning boat. Here's Brian and myself on the launch day. Electric winches. He had a seat across. It's not shown on the picture, but he could tack himself on a slit seat on a carbon on a Harken track. And here we are out sailing on the first weekend. Very great fun. And then we sold it to Japan, and there I am in Japan with it. So that's an example of a different boat. So here we go. Blondie 3. Now, this really is one of my all-time favourite boats. It's everything about this boat. Some boats just go together really well, and you realise the planets have aligned, God's on your side, and this was one of them. We moved into the shed, this building, and this is after just purely 3 weeks. We've been in the shed 3 weeks, and it's a strip plank cedar boat. We've cut the frames out, we've set them up, and we've planked the boat. The boat then gets sheathed in carbon fibre and stuff. There's the deck. The deck was moulded in carbon foam, weighed only 180 kilos. Well, the deck, I thought the deck we built for Victric 4, 220 kilos. Smaller boat was light. This is 180 kilos. Very super light, brilliantly built. Here we are, pulling it out of the shed. With my gang at the time, we built a lot of boats together, so we're not together anymore, but it's a bit sad, but things move on. Everyone's gone their own way. Mick, unfortunately, is dead, and everyone else has sort of lost themselves in various things. The boat Blondie on the first sail, it was just a dream boat from start to finish. Thank you, Yam and Ryan, for that order. We won the Rourke Easter Regatta that year, and it was just everything was nice about that boat. Here it is. I took this picture. This was when it was impetuous. It's at my regatta again in Hoath, 2012. Everybody who's owned that boat has always loved it. It's currently actually in Sweden with the rod that owns it. They sailed it to Sweden last year and decided they liked it so much there. The boat's still there in the archipelago. Okay, so a few random stuff. So what's going on here? Well, this is a new keel I designed for a 49 that got itself to one of my boats. It got itself to South Africa. And it had a new keel from while it was in Australia, a New Zealander had convinced the owner that I'd got the keel in completely the wrong place and got it all wrong. And the trouble with this New Zealander was he was still reading out of a book called Schemes, Elements of Yacht Design, where it tells you that the centre of effort of the sails needs to be 15% of the waterline in front of the centre of effort of the keel. Well, that went out the window a long time ago. And I mean, if you look at some of Jason's boats, seriously fast, the mast on top of the keel, not way in front of it. So anyway, the Australian owner of this boat was persuaded to move the keel way back, which was all wrong. So the boat used to slop around with the bow out the water. It got sold to South Africa, and the owner phoned me up and said, look, I need a new keel. I realised the boat's quite good, but the keel's completely wrong. I said, more than happy to do that. So I supplied him a new keel, and this is it in South Africa. And it's a nice little story here, because in the background, well, I phoned up. They didn't know how to fare keels. The guy running his boat said, it's arrived, it's bare metal. What do we do? And so we just fare it. He said, we can't do that. So I said to the owner, well, I'll come down and do it for you. Not obviously by them believing they didn't have any facilities and tools or anything. So and I'm not going to mention the owner's name, but he's a very, very wealthy, substantial man with a lot of boats around the world. And he's super cool because you get him on the phone instantly. There's no secretarial defences. You get straight to him. And so he said, look, can you come down and sort this out? So I said, well, I need a few tools. Have you got any of this? And I laid out on my workshop floor the sort of tools I was going to need. I mean, there was an angle grinder, there was some sandpaper, and all the sort of usual stuff you need when you're finishing keels. And I took an iPhone picture of it. I messaged him, and within about 5 minutes, I get a message back saying, "Yeah, we've got all that, fine." So I went down there, and then when I get there, I find that actually they haven't just got it; they've got everything. The keel is in the same yard where they're building the new front section for the Volvo 70 that. I can't remember which one, but one of the Volvo 70s, the bows just disintegrated on the way to Cape Town in one of the Volvo races. So New Zealanders went in and built this whole new bow section in about 2 weeks, and there's the mould for it. So clearly the yard's got everything you need. But the other little point I'm getting at is there I am rubbing and working on the keel. And it's just an interesting thing. And they said this to me, no, don't do that. These guys want to do it. And in fact, if you're doing it, John, these guys think you don't trust them. So, and I said, that's unusual because normally I'm the first one in with the sandpaper, with the resin, getting sticky, saying, follow me, we're going to do this. And down there, that gives the wrong impression. It's a bit of a shock. These guys did a fantastic job, and I just hired a car and went sightseeing for a couple of weeks. There it is, ready to go on the boat. And in fact, the boat it's called Nitro. I think it's called Wind Power now, but it was when it was Nitro, it won everything in South Africa for 2 or 3 years. So going back to now, some of you will remember the name converting machine. There's been 3 converting machines of my designs. The first one was an early one, which sort of really to help get me going. This is the second one. And David Comerford always built his boats in his factory in Manchester, well-known boat building capital of the world. Now, I went up to paint this boat. He said, I mean, Dave and I have got a great relationship, so he won't mind me ribbing a bit. But I went up to, he said, all the boat's ready for painting. And I went up there, converting machine 96, and we're going back in, we just launched Cracked and Rosy, so sort of Easter time 96. And I got to paint his boat for him, and I discovered it was just a bare hull with absolutely nothing inside it and no deck or anything. It was the right way up, and it had been skinned. This is another cedar strip hull, so it'd been fiberglass on the outside, hadn't been faired. And the Scottish Series was 6 weeks away. And I said, well, what crew have you got here for me? And he had a guy his woodworker had done concrete shuttering for 30 years. That was his extent of carpentry skills. There was a laminator that had never worked with epoxy resin, and all he'd done is laminate sides of lorries or something. And another guy that I remember that just used to go and hide. And anyway, me plus these 3 guys, we worked our asses off. I faired the boat the wrong way up. I told them what to do, sticking the inside in the boat, and it became Converting Machine 96, which in fact ended up winning its class in Cool Creek in about 2008, I think. And Anthony O'Leary won a load of things with it after that. However, and there it is in being built again. Just whatever we could get, whatever materials we could get our hands on, plywood, any type, builder's plywood, that'll do. Got it in there. Unfortunately, this is the one that got regrettably destroyed in a fire in Cork. Very, very sad. It's the only one of my boats that I think this has happened to, and has just got sort of chucked. Back in time, the boat on the top left there is Victric 4, which is now called Dark Angel. Dubois design. Again, I didn't get the design for Victric 3, but I got the build for Victric 3. Same happened with Victric 4. Only got the build, but we built independent there as well at the time, which was my design, and we beat it. So I was quite happy about that. But Victric 4 rather, Dark Angel is a magic boat. I'll give Ed, or rather Malcolm, Malcolm McKeon, who actually did all the design work. That is one of those magic boats, it really is. So in that picture, we've got Victric 4 being built, top left, in the foreground, upside down, independent bear, and 35-foot ram raid, one of my boats, built cold molded wood on the right. Busy times. This is winter of 96 into 97. Then 98, this is Incisor. Now, Incisor was an interesting project because people still wanted to chop old boats up and convert them into new ones. And Cracking Rosie was a sort of version of that because Roy had taken all the kit off it. Anything that was worth saving, he'd taken off the old boat and put on the new one. This was, the owners even took the deck off. Deck off a IOR 43 called Backlash, which I'd done the Bermuda race in 86 on. Great boat, designed by Julian Everett that I worked with before I worked by myself. Fantastic boat, very innovative deck layout. And the owners, they thought the hull was past its sell-by date shape-wise, but they loved the deck. So they came to me, and I just basically designed them a new hull to take, and a new keel, but everything else was the original. It was the same rig, the same rudder, the same engine, the same deck gear. So here we have the deck having been cut off the old boat, which is a 43-footer, and the mould, a plug is a male mould. This is a mould where you build the boat on the outside of the mould in the background. And this drawing shows what we did to the deck. So the red bit on the sides, it shows the bit we cut off, and the purple bits are the bits we had to add on because it just sort of wasn't actually long enough. And here's the boat doing the start of the Fastnet. It does every Fastnet. It's been chartering for 22 years. Strong boat, very popular in Cowes. The sort of boat that never let you down. The worst thing that happens is you get wet and it'll get you home. Right, I love this picture. This is a garden shed in Clontarf, and just goes to show that never underestimate a shed, because in there, here we have Gerard and his 27-footer. This guy was awesome. He retired early from, he worked for one of the pharmaceutical companies. He had to retire early. He'd suffered from smoke inhalation from, it's quite a cool story in a sort of weird way. His car had burst into flames outside of school, and he, rather than running away from the car, he'd actually just drove the car away, a long way away from the school, and in the process suffered irreversible lung damage through all the smoke and all the plastic on the side of the car burning and stuff. So he'd retired and then decided to build a boat. Well, I tell you what, boat building is pretty toxic, and I'm not sure this was the best thing anybody would suffer from that should have been doing, but he did it. And the boat, they've moved to the Mediterranean. I think he's still got the boat with him. So we're going back late 90s here. 27-foot boat built in this shed in Clontarf. Absolutely superb. So going back to the Dirty Dozen again, I've always rather employed the guys that can't get normal jobs. Matt Ferris has gone on to get a normal job there. He's introduced him to Richard Matthews after this project, and he's worked with Richard for most of the last 20 years. Everyone else is I don't want to say where they've gone. So this was the build crew for Barlow Plastics, which here we go. This is year 2000. So I was building 3 boats at the time. I personally built this one, 41-footer. Gloves off. I got the order for gloves off about 3 weeks after this one, and I subcontracted that to to Division Yachts. They did a fantastic job. And also the 25 came along, and I sort of built that, had that in the background with some mates. The first 25, which was a cedar strip boat, and then we made the molds over that. So that's 41-foot bare hull, off the plug, nothing in it. We've got to put all the inside in it. There it is, another one, very early in the morning, dragging up the road from the shed to get to the yard to put the keel on. And here she is. Charles Dunstan of Car Firm Warehouse fame, he subsequently bought the boat and won the IRC Nationals a couple of times as well. We did it as Barlow Plastics. So very successful boat. Disappeared off to China. I'd love to get my hands on it. It's a sort of sister ship to Gloves Off. So, you know, it's a good boat. And the build, we did build a good quality build on that one. There it is again, Car Firm Warehouse. Here I am smashing a bulb off Independent Bear. There's a few pictures. I said some of these pictures, I don't put them on the internet. I'm not going to sell many boats for a bit of fun. We wanted to change the bulb because it was pretty big. I wanted a slightly smaller one. And so I took the bolts out, and 2 days later, I still couldn't get the bulb off the bottom of the fin. So here we are, melting it off with a gas axe and smashing it with a sledgehammer. Obviously, it came off. More sort of chainsaw, sort of big power tool action. This is more recent history. I think most of you will know Jamie McWilliam. He's got a Kerr 40. So I'm just looking at seeing how I'm doing on time. Yeah. Kerr 40 Signal 8. So it was only about, I'm thinking 3 or 4 years ago, relatively recently. Jamie got Signal 40. It's the Kerr 40, which is the original design. The fast 40s have come along, and the whole 40-foot thing sort of ramped up a bit, pace. And Jason and Jamie come up with this plan Jason says he can change the shape of the back of the boat. So the only person that was prepared to take this on for the 6 weeks before it needed to race was me. And so Jamie had a new bottom part of the boat laminated in Turkey. And I cut off the back of the boat just as it was arriving. Here I am. We cut more stuff cut off, and there's the new bit which we had to fair. It came in a box, but it wasn't faired, so I had to fair that. Lots of bits, of stuck it on, made it longer as well. Did this whole thing pretty quickly, I have to say, and pretty pleased with the way it came out. And that boat, I think, is in Ireland still. It might be in Cork, might be in Northern Ireland, not sure where. I don't think it did make it a bit faster. It's the trouble is the new 40s are just so much faster. You know, it's just, I'm afraid it didn't really do enough. Okay, motorboats. Well, this might be, I might find myself doing more motorboats in the future than sailboats because I've got quite a few on the go at the moment. This is a prototype we built in just after Blondie, actually, so in the beginning of '06, and just builder's plywood, threw it together in about 2 weeks to see where this thing would work. Here we go, nothing flash about the fit out. We've dragged a seat out of the skip. it's all sort of G-clamped together. And then we sort of improved the seating a bit, and blah, blah, blah. And this was a moulded boat, made moulds by then. So what I'm saying is very quickly, sort of got into some motorboats, and this is one of the moulded boats, and pretty flash. This is in Saint-Tropez now. Here it is, another one back in the Sonnet. One of the North guys turned up in the Sonnet with a boat and said, is this something you designed? I think it is. I said, yeah, I certainly did. It's not one I knew about, but it's out of the mould. So you can't trust those poles at all. 27-foot version, built by a very, very good boat builder in Melbourne in Australia. Okay, on to more bizarre projects. One of the jobs I got from my Hamburg presentation, when I put a picture of me in a chainsaw up, was one of the jobs I got was changing the shape of this RIYC 57 Shocker Coda, which was a nice boat, but just a little bit narrow really at the back end, a bit pinched in and didn't reach very well. So we decided to make the thing, we stuck 1/2 metre of foam each side at the deck level. And here is 1/2 metre of foam on. It doesn't look that much. It was a big job. I had to refair everything and paint the whole boat again. So it's in for a few months. And there it is, the wide version. It's the same down at the sort of waterline and the turn of the bilge, but it's a lot wider at the top. More chainsaw action. Belinda's quarter tonner. The only way we could get the keel off this thing when it arrived was to literally cut the whole bottom of the boat out. It wasn't coming off. There's a hole in the boat. It had an engine. I cut the coach roof off. We just kicked the engine out through the hole in the floor. Boat upside down, as well as the interior being rebuilt, refaired, made it all nice, and she comes out the shed, and it's just very proud of that job. I had a fantastic owner that just wanted it absolutely perfect, and it's the nearest I've ever got to making something sort of concours in my life. Was that boat. Very proud of it. Here it is sailing. So Gloves Off again, more chopping. Gloves Off was originally built for Colin Barrington, and I don't think his crew could deny the fact they were all big fellas when we built this boat. And the average weight was, they told me, the average weight was sort of 100 kilos. So I realised it's going to have a lot more weight in the back of this boat than normal. So I designed a bit of extra volume into the hull shape under the cockpit. But once you'd sold the boat, the boat really didn't need that sort of volume. So came up with this scheme to literally cut and shut the boat and to fold it in to reduce the volume, which made the boat smoother as the water sort of running under the hull, under the cockpit towards the transom, was just making it a little smoother. And that was what this was. And it came out pretty good. The boat went on to, here we are, because we stuck a load on the back as well. We sort of really messed about with it, but updated the shape of the boat. This is 2008. There it is, this new cockpit, petite cockpit sold down. There it is, Kieran Toomey, proud owner. And he did pretty well with it in Cork. Sold it to German guy, and it became Rockall 3. Rockall 4. Rockall 3 had been the old Roy Dixon's second boat for me, Rosie. If you can keep up with all the changed names, you'll be doing well, because I struggle as well. 38-footer, nice boat. I did the Middle Sea race on Rock on this boat about 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I think. And I have never been so scared offshore on a boat in my life, not because of the boat, but because of the weather and because of how fast we were going. We survived it. We won the class, both ORC and IRC. No instruments, middle of the night. I don't think we dropped below 17 and probably max about 23, 24 all night. Just totally out of control. Well, sort of in control, out of control. Fantastic trip, but I really don't want to do that again. Boat held together. Boat held together well. We do other things at Corby Yachts. Here we are in Fanta, and the reason I'm showing you this picture, this is a 1947 Philip Rhodes, beautiful classic boat, 47-foot yawl. We did a complete fairing job. It won Concours d'Elegance at the Panerai Regatta, and the reason I'm showing you these pictures is because 2 days ago, I took this picture of the half model that I'd been commissioned to make of the boat by the owner's sons. And this was, I took it yesterday morning and put it in a box and sent it off, and it arrived today. Bit of fun. So my own regattas then, yeah, I did, I've done 5 of them, 2008, 10, 12 and 14. Yeah. The one I did in Howth, funny enough, was definitely the most competitive. There was I thinking that, in fact, when I take my regatta to Ireland, it's going to be the least about the sailing and the most about the partying. You couldn't have it the wrong way around. This was the most about the sailing and the least about the drinking. So this is the first one, though. This is in Cowes in 2008 and 2010. Light Air as 2014, and 2012 when I did it in Howth. That was a fantastic event. It was big rolling seas and stuff, and the club did a really, really nice professional job. Easily the most professional of all my regattas been run. Maybe the moment's past. I haven't done one. 2000 and more recently. I did 2016, but I don't think I do them anymore. My own boat, quickly, another restoration, because I quite enjoy this, is Daring, 33-foot fiberglass boat from one design from moulded in the 70s, but from a design from the 50s. Completely did a job. Here we go. Really nice, and new systems, the whole thing. We won Cowes Week in this boat in the class in 2017. If anyone wants to buy it, actually, it's for sale now. So I'm back in the flying 15. More restorations. Bowman 40, this was 20 months ago this arrived, and we had a job on our hands to get this thing. We took all the teak deck off. The deck core was also gone. I had to dig all that out, re-laminate that deck. It turned out very, very nice. And here it is sailing, Bowman 44 yawl. We're just about to launch the Swan 40 we've done as well. I haven't got any pictures of that. So how did it all start for me? Well, this is 1985 with a model yacht. I did one year at Yacht Design College in 85. Then taught myself computer-aided design. The only thing I was any good at the yacht college was actually the model boat race, which I won quite easily with this thing. Everything else I was a bit average at, but I taught myself computer-aided design, which enabled me to get a job with Julian Everett, who was a very, very active, innovative designer at the time. And we worked well together. He had the name, I had the computer, and we were a good team. And we built, designed Backlash, he'd already done that. I'm talking about Wave Train. Now, this is a very well-known boat. This was the first boat that we designed. Every single drawing was on a computer, so not just the hull shape, but every single detail. I think even the fuel tank, you name it, everything came off CAD. And this is the beginning of 88, early 88. And we launched it just in time to go to the Scottish Series. There's Julian and myself sailing it two-handed. The boat was fantastically stable. It was a bit underpowered in light air. It's got quite a lot of wetted surface area, but unbelievable in a breeze. And I'm sure that people if there's anybody here watching tonight will know that if it's breezy, upwind or on a reach, that boat there's just nothing can beat it. Unfortunately, it is overbuilt. It's a bit low in the water. It's a bit draggy in light airs. So it needs all the help it can get. But in a breeze, it's just unbelievable. So I went on to do my own. So this is my first boat, 27-footer. We built it. I built 2 of them in Cowes. And I met somebody in a pub. I mean, you could do that in 1988. Meet somebody in a pub and he orders a boat, sort of like that. Not like that anymore. So people like me could sort of get going. And this is a complete opposite of wave train. So it was fantastic in light airs, but didn't have the power in a breeze. And I can explain that in hydrostatics if anyone's interested later. But unbelievable light air boat in the way complete opposite of wave train. And that's myself and Mark James on the first day we launched. Was quite pleased with ourselves. With my former wife, as we said, I'll quickly show that one. When everyone doesn't think I had hair, I really did. So Ireland then, the first boat I ever did in Ireland was for Brian O'Loughlin, which was Frenzy. And this was, all the drawing was basically on one page then. Built it in plywood. They got the lines plan as well. And in fact, David Hopkins joined the team about 2 weeks after they started. He couldn't resist it. And Frenzy, I'd love to know where that boat is now. I think it's sort of tucked in sort of Cork or sort of southwest Ireland somewhere. Love to get my hands on that boat. There it is in '94 in Howth. Just nice boat. Please, if somebody knows, let me know. I want it back. Converting machine 92. This boat was still going strong in the zone, now called NJOS. It's now green. It's luminous green, unbelievable. But races very regularly and in the right conditions, still very, very fast. It's quite light by today's standards for 35 footers. Didn't know that at the time. Seemed quite heavy. Actually, quite light now. But boats have changed. But instrumental in me getting the Mustang Sally deal. And Peter Wilson, this is a picture I took of myself and Peter at Roy's funeral back in early March, I think it was, late February, early March. And I'll always have to be thankful to Peter because he gave me the commission for the boat, which really, really changed my life, actually. So this was converting machine. I'd made a rudder for this boat overnight because the original one they'd made had fallen off. And I just had this sort of feeling. This was late '94 and they were doing the winter series in Howth. And I just had this feeling that I really did have to make this rudder for them in time for the weekend. So I worked overnight to make a new rudder. I made it in sort of 12 hours flat out, had it packaged up by Wednesday in Cowes. It got to Howth by Friday, and David, the owner, managed to get it on the boat for the weekend. And he went out, and he was the first boat to beat Peter Wilson in Jumping Jack Flash around the course. And Peter Wilson, this is Peter here, in '94, he'd won everything that was going in his J35 Jumping Jack Flash. And yet this thing comes along and beats him. He gets on the phone, and we end up building Mustang Sally, which I have to say, absolutely, completely transformed my life. I probably have had a career boat building, but wouldn't have been designing. And this is the original drawing. I started again from scratch. I had a blank sheet of paper on this one, and it was all CHS. The owner and his crew, Mark Pettit, really drove the project, and he knew exactly what the boat needed to be. And in fact, thank God they did, because if I'd left my own devices, it might not have turned out so well. We built this boat in 11 weeks. I got the order at the beginning of March, and we moved into a shed with some people that I dragged out of the Three Crowns pub pool team. I had no crew, build crew, had no shed, no nothing. And I was playing pool, and I said to the rest of the unemployed people, any of you want a job? Two of them said yes. Turned up on Monday, and we built this boat start to finish in 11 weeks. And this is the first day. We've already taken posts up, put the frames up. And battening, this is a mould. We're going to throw it all away ultimately. Moulding the boat, and that's the foam called Hole the Right Way Up. Building the boat inside. I didn't have the time to build the deck, so I subcontracted the deck to Nigel Harley and his team, and there they are carrying it down the road. Boat coming out of the shed, just about to go in the water. First ever sail. That'd be Mark Pettit steering the boat there. So the Corby Trans. So this is the first boat. Not only did it was the boat that really sort of made me, but it's the boat that it's the first boat to have the Corby transom. Now this is the first boat that I'd had properly engineered too by SP Systems, who are now called Gurrit, but they were the epoxy boys at the time. And Giovanni worked for them, ran their technical structural team, and he came round one night and we schemed the boat, and we just sketched this, and it became literally the visual signature, which everybody knows. So basically what's happening is that when you put the backstay on a boat like this, which had a powerful masthead rig, nothing really bent, we didn't want the boat to bend either. The back of the top of the deck at the back wants to get wider. It wants to spread out. So you've got to hold the top of the deck together across the top of the transom. So that bit of the transom's in tension. But then we put these angled struts in, which would be in compression to make it even stiffer. And that is literally, it's as simple as that. And there we go, first sail again. That's the crew. That's Peter and Mark and the rest of the gang. There's Aidan, there's Brian Matthews. There's all sorts of Stephen Parr and all sorts of people in that picture. Scottish Series. We went to Scottish Series. Sails up almost for the first time and won it. Unbelievable. And that launched me in the story. Sailing with my son. The boat was in Cowes at one stage between ownerships. That's my son Seb. And there he is again when we refitted the boat, fast forward a number of years, and we rebuilt the boat for Adam Gosling and gave it a new life. And Seb was working on that project with me. This is the boat coming in back to Cowes for that rebuild. That's me steering it back in. We took it apart, stripped it all out. The whole thing was just, upside down now, re-sanded and repainted the interior upside down while the other team was working on the outside, getting everything off, sanding it, refairing. We sprayed the whole boat, so top to bottom, in one go. It meant 2 spray guns on the go. It took a bit of working out. There it comes out the shed upside down. We were very happy with that. Interior reborn, and first time sailing is yes. We put a new carbon mast on, different sail plan. It was taller, non-overlap, updated it, loads of groovy stuff. Still the same rudder, still the same tiller, still the same primary winches, and still the same keel that we put on in halfway through the boat's life, sort of 10 years previously to that. We won Cowes Week Black Group 3 years in a row in that boat, and 13, 14, 15, I think. No one's ever done that before. So when I say Black Group, that I mean the whole of Cowes Week yachts, not the day boats, the Etchells and the Dragons and things. I mean all the IRC boats, all combined, is Black Group. And it's pretty competitive, and we managed to win that 3 years in a row. It's myself with Adam with one of those years, I can't remember which year it is, with that overall trophy. Boat came back last year. It sold to a team in Ramsgate, and they came back and they won Class 2 again last year. How cool is that? That is the end of my slideshow. Wow. It's a lot of pictures, folks, and I'm gonna unshare that and go back to taking some questions.
Okay, John, thank you very much. We have a couple of questions here. One from Jonathan Nicholson. Would it be worth adding width to an IMS 600 to make it quicker. She has slab sides with a very rectangular shape and is quite heavy with lots of internal ballast.
No. You just put a proper keel on the boat. Take the internal ballast out. It's probably a boat with a wooden keel or something stupid. So I would put a proper keel on the boat. Do not change the shape of the hull.
Don't change the shape. Just looking for that.
Lots of water because I'm just beginning to croak. Give me about 2 seconds. Right.
Just a question. You finished off there on Mustang Sally, John. What was intrinsically great about that boat that it was able to continue winning for such a long period of time? Or was it down to a very good refit?
Well, I think, I think all designers would agree with me. When you get it wrong, you're never quite sure why a boat doesn't go, because you think that you've done everything right and it still doesn't go. And when you get it right, you're sort of not quite sure what's the magic element. Some boats are magic, and if we all knew what it was that made them magic, we could repeat that. So when the next person comes along and says, I want a slightly smaller one or a slightly bigger one, you can simply get that same magic ingredient in a different boat. And unfortunately, it never works out quite that way. I still don't really know why that boat is so magic. I've got a few ideas, but 25 years in, I couldn't put the finger on specifically why.
Okay. Question from Brendan Farrell. Did you do Megalopolis for Urban Taylor?
No, I didn't. Megalopolis was a Rob Humphreys boat.
All right, okay. Question from Dermot Bremner, and he wants to know, what was the name of your first boat?
The first boat I ever designed was Skytrain, after Wayne, yeah. Right. On my own name, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we've probably kind of run through all the questions. I'm just going to put on my video camera for a second here, because just in the middle of your talk there, you mentioned this particular book. I don't know if you can see it or not. My video is acting up a little bit. It was on my desk right beside me as you were mentioning it.
16 elements
of yacht design. Yes, so you're saying I shouldn't bother reading this. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's a fine read, but I sort of was slightly mischievous. But in the old days, you really did design your boat that way with the centre of effort of the sail plan. Definitely the mast had to be quite a long way in front of the keel, because otherwise the boats would simply round up and have lots of weather helm. But what's happened is a sailcloth has got so much better, so much flatter. So mainsails are now massively flatter than they've ever been, which means you don't get the rounding up and the weather helm that you used to get. And I mean, the meter boats are a classic example. All the meter boats that are all sort of built 30, 40 years ago or further, they've all had to really move their masts back when they started using even Kevlar sails in the 80s, because the balance of the boat just wasn't what they were used to. And masts have come closer and closer towards keels. And I mean, you know, Jason would be the guy that's done that probably more than anyone and got away with it.
Okay. Thank you, John. I'm going to hand you back now to Pat.
Oh, okay, Joe, thank you very, very much. John, incredible story. What a great life you've had. And more power to you. You've produced some brilliant boats, and we all love to see a winning boat, and you have been one of the champions in yacht racing, and thank you for that. And a great supporter of Ireland, I have to say. Thanks very, very much indeed. And I would also like to extend my thanks to Philip Duffy. Philip did all the tech today, to Joe Conway for the questions and answers, and Winifred McCourt, who put this series together. She's done a fine job, And big thanks to Winifred. And don't forget to book into the club, guys. You know, we are opening on June the 30th for a bit of nosh and a few pints, and we'd love to see you there. John, when you're in town, come and check us out.
I will indeed. Thank you very much indeed for asking me. It's been an honour. Thank you.
Thanks very, very much indeed. Good night to everybody. Thank you.